All right. Everyone has green on the left, notes on the right. All right, continuing with our chapter on percents, we are going to talk today about something called sales tax, tips, and markup. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our very first word. The very first word is sales tax. Everyone?
Sales tax.
Okay, now, talking about sales tax, okay? Maybe some of you guys have recognized this. Probably most of you have. Some of you guys may have not given it much thought. But if you go, like, let's say I love going to my, if I need some clothes and I need something inexpensive, I don't have a lot of money to spend, I go to Walmart. They have some good clothes there. It's fairly inexpensive. And so I go and let's just say I choose a dry fit t-shirt off the rack, right? And on that tag it says $9.99. But I go and scan it, and when the computer asks me for my money, or of course the cashier, depending on which line I go in, it will say something like $10.28, not $9.99. Okay? Well, that's because of sales tax. All right, sales tax, if you don't know already, because you guys are 7th graders, I don't expect you guys to know, but this country is full of taxes. All right? How many of you guys just earlier this school year, out here in front of Rayburn, right? They had all the road torn. You guys remember that road torn up, and they just not too long ago they just put the stoplight out here that I'm not a big fan of. But hey, if it's safer, it's safer. All right, so you've got all of this construction going on here. Well, listen, they're working on our roads for us. They're working on our roads for us. Now, you probably have never given this much thought, but all of the pavement, all of the gasoline that it takes to maintain, even the regular maintenance on the big machines that dig the trenches out there to lay whatever, piping, whatever even the pipes, right? I mean, everything that they're laying out there, or even whatever, right, to widen the roads, the paint for the dotted line in the middle of the road, whatever it is, that money, that material has to be bought somehow. And the way that a lot of that kind of stuff is bought, and of course there's a lot more in this world that this has to do with, but just using something right here is a lot of times when you have a job or you go and buy something, we pay for it through things like tax, or in this case, sales tax. There's lots of other tax out there. There's income tax, all right? I'm sure, parents who work, they have to pay their income tax. Okay, that's what that is. It's going to the state or even the national, federal government to help keep our world up and running. Okay, so that's the way that a lot of times they get money is by taxes. So one of the way we help out is by paying that little extra. You buy something, you pay it. If you ever go to the grocery store, you go and buy a turkey for Thanksgiving. Okay, that stuff's not taxed. And so food, just your basic food, won't be taxed. Okay, so there's some other interesting things. There's other states that their taxes are different. Okay, even in the state of California, sales tax from city to city could be at a different rate, a different percentage. It just kind of all depends on that part of the government. So anyway, with that said, here's what the definition is. It's an additional amount of money charged on items that people buy. An additional amount of money charged on items that people buy. So, remember, this isn't a synonym. This is more of a hint to help you remember, especially when it goes with my story. Why not $9.99? Okay, so in your little box here, just write that. Why not $9.99? So just really quickly, I just want to say I'm going to go into detail today about the vocab words more than ever. Okay, but there's a reason. Okay, so let me ask you guys, if I give you a math problem in a bit, and let's say an item is $10 and sales tax is 50 cents. When you check out at Walmart, how much is that item going to cost you? Let me state that again. You're buying something for $10. Sales tax is 50 cents. How much is that item? How much are you going to have to pay going out? If that's the only item you have, how much you have to pay before you leave?
$10.50.
Right? So what did you guys just do? You added. And the reason, that's why I'm going into detail about this. I haven't even taught you that part of the lesson yet, but knowing what sales tax is helps you realize, oh, that's right, it's added on to the price, right? So that's what we're going to do. So you'll talk about sales tax, and sometimes they'll ask you about tax. Sometimes they'll ask you something like, what's the total cost, or what's the selling price? And that means, like, what is it? So what do? You add the price of the shirt with the sales tax, and that's what that is, okay? So just kind of prepping you guys for our lesson here in a bit, too. All right, so here we go. Our next word, tip. Everyone?
Tip.
All right, so a tip. A lot of us probably have a good idea what this is, possibly. Okay, now let's take, for example, 2 different eating places. All right, now if, let's say, I am in a rush and I'm trying to save money, but I don't have time to make my dinner at home, and I'm more than likely going to choose a place like good old Mickey D's. All right, you go to McDonald's, right? You order your 10-piece nuggets and a large French fry. You got to get the large French fry, right? And you've got to upgrade to the large Coke because it's all $1, right? So you get your nuggets, fries, and Coke, right? Well, what do? You go up to the counter and you order your if it's a value meal, you order that, right? And what do? You sit there, they give you a receipt. You sit there with that receipt. You kind of wait, and then someone just flops down a bunch of food or puts down the tray and then slowly adds the food to the tray, and you're like watching, wondering if it's yours, right? So you sit there, and then all of a sudden they'll maybe say something like, order 323, please. And then they'll just go back to work. And so what do? You look at your receipt. You see that it's 323. You go pick it up. What do? You get your cup. You go fill it up with the ice. You go fill it up with the Coke. Or some of us probably fill a little of every single soda on in your cup, right? Yeah. So yeah, I did that when I was young too. So we turn around, and what do? You have your tray in front of you. Then what do? You grab your tray. You go sit down. You start eating. You realize you forgot napkins because you're eating your greasy fries. So what do? You get back up. You go to the napkins. Okay, you guys get the idea, right? Now, on the other hand, if I've saved up my money and I have a special event coming and I want to maybe it's me and my wife's anniversary and I want to treat her to a nice dinner, and her and my daughter, and so we go to a nice dinner. I don't know, let's say I'm craving a steak, and so we go to Tahoe Joe's. All right? So, we go, what do? We go sit down. Do we need to worry about going to a counter and ordering? No. Do we need to worry about going up to the soda machine to fill up our soda? No. Do we need to worry about going up and getting more napkins up at the counter if our hands are greasy? No. All right? Who brings that to you? The waiter does, or waitress, right? So there is the 2 differences in there. Now, when you go to McDonald's, you serve yourself. It's like self-serve. But when you go to a restaurant, both places you're getting food, all right? Maybe one place a little bit better food than the other. Probably not much healthier, but still better quality food, tasting better. It's probably going to cost you a lot more, right? But there's still a difference that a lot of people overlook, and that is, in one place it's self-serve. The other place is not self-serve. You're being waited on, okay? So for that moment, there is an extra service that's being provided. It's almost like you have your own personal, and you don't want to say this because we all start jobs somewhere, and there's some professional waiters that make really good money, and it's a profession, but for that moment you have like a servant, right, that is serving you. So basically what you want to do is you want to thank them for their extra service, or they're not a servant, it's just part of their job, but they are still serving you, right? So you want to thank them. And the best way to do that is with a little extra money. And that is, of course, a tip. So this A tip is also known as gratuity. That's more of the formal name for it, gratuity. Also known as gratuity. It's a small amount of money in return for a service. Okay, and it might not just be a restaurant. There's other places that you tip, but that's just a more common example. So in your little box off to the side, just a little reminder of tipping, right? Thanks, waiter. It's a little extra thank you for their service. Either way, you're paying for your food, right? But you don't have to tip at McDonald's. You're serving yourself. At a nice restaurant, someone serving you, the tip is a little more appropriate. Okay, and then after that is the word, this is a hard one, gratuity, everyone? Gratuity. All right, I just said it's a hard one because we just talked about it, right? It's also known as a tip. Basically, they're synonyms of each other, the same word, same meaning. It's a small amount of money in return for a service. So, bottom line is in the little box, just really quickly, write tip. It's the same thing, gratuity or a tip. I rarely call it gratuity, but sometimes you go to a nice restaurant on the receipt, on the little line, especially if you pay with a credit card, and it will say gratuity on there. That's what it means. It's where you would put your tip at. You'd write it in. All right, the next one, markup, everyone. Markup. All right, so now this is a part that people usually find interesting, and it's because some of us as 7th graders don't ever have to worry about thinking about this. Okay. However, all of us know that all around us are businesses. Okay, there's businesses. Now, the other day when we were talking about our story of interest, right, and buying a PS5, all right, well, let's scale it back and let's talk about something that really does exist. All right, what's the latest version of the PlayStation? PS4, right? It's PS4. So let's say, does anyone know the manufacturing company of a PlayStation? Yeah, it's Sony. Yeah, it's Sony, right? So I don't know if you guys have ever been to a big city, and sometimes they have offices outside, but sometimes you go to a big city, you see a big, like for example, a big warehouse, a big, building, huge, that it will say Sony written on it. Okay, and it is, that could be a place where the PS4 is manufactured, meaning actually built. Okay, designed and maybe built. Now, here's the thing, and this is more. My numbers are more fictional than anything. I mean, I'm just making these numbers up because I really don't know. But let's say, for the sake of me explaining this to you, Sony, when they take all of the plastic that is surrounding the PS4 and all of the computer chips and the circuit boards and everything inside of that machine, right, that you put your disc in to play the game, that machine, all of that, and maybe the machines that run the machines that build that, or even the people that are on the assembly line or whatever else to build that one PS4, maybe all of that would cost the company $10. To build that machine, maybe it cost them $10. Okay? Now, here's what happens. Do you guys go buy your PS4 or PS3 or whatever from Sony? You go to the place and buy it? No. You have to go to an actual retail store. Okay, so you go to a place, let's just use it because it's an electronic place, all right? And I love going there. Let's pretend like it's Best Buy. We go to Best Buy to buy it. Okay, not always the best idea because they don't always have the best deals, but still, we'll go to Best Buy because kind of fancy place to go. So, here's what happens. We don't see this part, but Sony will turn around with the PS4 and they will sell it to Best Buys throughout America, or maybe even throughout the world, right? Let's just keep it locally or kind of locally, and let's talk, they send it to all the Best Buys throughout the U.S. They sell it to Best Buy for $100. It costs them $10 to make. they sell it to them for $100. Each unit, each PS4, $100. Now, first of all, how much money did they just make?
90.
They made $90, right? That $90, Sony's $90, that is their profit. That's the money they're making off of that by selling it to Best Buy. But Best Buy, being a real retail store, they turn around and sell it to us, which we can, a fancy name to the customers could be a consumer. We're the ones that buy it. We get a great deal on it, let's say, and we pay them $200 to Best Buy. How much did Best Buy just make off of that one PS4? $100, right? They bought it for $100, then flipped it to us, sold it to us for $200. That's an extra $100 profit. Ladies and gentlemen, we think we got a great deal on it, right? Oh, it was $300, but we got it for $200. Woo! Okay, but in the end, everyone still makes money. That's how businesses stay in business, is by doing that. Okay, so markup, what all of those are all markups. Things are marked up to eventually sell to the next company or to the consumers, to us, the buyers, and that's what a markup is. So here's what your book says it is. It's the amount the price of an item is increased above the price the store paid for an item. So if you buy it for $250, but Best Buy bought it for $100, the markup was $150. Okay, now of course we'll see money like that in our lesson, but it's mainly in percents, and that's of course why we're talking about all these, because they're all based off of percents in real life. Okay. All right, now we do have one other word, and this is more a content. Oh, sorry, I forgot to give this to you. Store has to make money. Store has to make money. Go ahead and write that in your little box there to help you remember the story of what a markup is. Okay, so that last word I was talking about for our vocab, here you go. The word is selling price. Everyone?
Selling price.
All right, so this is a little thing you might see in your directions or even in word problems. You'll need to know what this means. All right, here we go. It's the amount the customer pays for an item. The amount the customer pays for an item. So I referred to selling, if you caught it, I referred to selling price at the very beginning of talking about the vocab here. So, like I said, going back like to the Walmart thing, right? Then the example I asked you guys, $10 was like the price of the shirt. If we paid a sales tax of 50 cents on those $10, on that $10, and I asked you guys, you guys all said you would have paid $10.50 for the shirt. Well, that would be what they consider a selling price. Okay. So the price, the ticket price is $10, right? With the sales tax of 50 cents, $10.50 would be the selling price. So if a problem on this homework asks you, gives you a bunch of information that says, what's the selling price? Or it could even ask you, what's the total cost? This is what they're talking about. What is the amount of money that it's actually coming out of your wallet? Okay? So go ahead and just put down final price. It's the very final price. After everything is said and done, it's the final price. What is it costing you? So this reminder is for me, but it could also be for you guys in case I forget. But in our lesson, we're going to talk about number 3 and number 5 on those pages. And just where you know, we talked about tip, we talk about sales tax. But when you find sales tax, the tax is never on top of the tip. It's only on the price of the item you're buying. Okay, so we'll talk about that once we get there. All right. With that said, most of you guys are already doing it. Go ahead and grab your book and take your book and flip to page 154. 154. All right, so the directions, I actually wrote the directions on this paper. It says find the total cost to the nearest cent. Now I do want to point out two things. Total cost, of course, is the selling price that we just talked about. The nearest cent, ladies and gentlemen, the nearest cent is the pennies. The cent is basically the hundreds. That's what it means by the nearest cent. So when I say make it look like money, that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you have, we can call this dime, the dime category, and the cent category, all right, or place value. So tenths and hundreds. So we round to the nearest hundreds. All right, with that said, here we go. Let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and do problem number 1. So number 1 it's a just a $2.95 notebook, and we have to pay 5% tax, 5% sales tax. All right, so as we're writing this down, we have our pencils in our hands, right? Step 1. Okay, step 1 is at the very top. I want you to write, and we just talked about this on our POD, and that was one of the other reasons why I use a percent equation, because that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and write down the percent equation. Remember, you find the part by taking the percent and multiplying it with the whole. So here's what we're going to do. Step 2. Put a star by step 2, and here's why. This is going to be a little different. We're going to plug the numbers into the right spot. However, there's going to be one little change, and here's what I want you to do for today. The part, in this case, okay, the part is going to be, according to this, the 5% tax, the sales tax. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to find out the sales tax. That's going to be the part that we're finding out. So I'm going to put a T here to remind me that's what we're finding out, is the tax. So I'm going to change P to a T, and then I'm going to do, of course, what we've been doing. So remember, when I plug in the percent of the sales tax, I put it in decimal form. So it's 5%, right? Don't forget, we move the decimal over 2 times to the left. So I have 0.05. The whole is, of course, the price of the notebook. So it is $2.95. Don't need to worry about the dollar sign right now. Now, step 3 is, we've done this before. We're going to either simplify or solve, depending on how the problem is set up. Okay, well, in this case, everything is on one side. It's just an expression. So we're just going to solve. So here we go. Take my calculator, 0.05. So 500ths times 2.95, or $2.95 equals, and here's what I get, 0.75. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, what does T stand for again? Tax, meaning this is referring to money. So I need to do step 4. I need to make it look like money. I put a little dollar sign here. I need to make it look like money, which means I need to put a dollar sign, and I need to round it to the nearest cent, or at least make sure the nearest cent is there. So I have 0. And then the nearest cent, remember we talked about, is the nearest hundredths. So the 7 makes the 4 go up, and we end up having sales tax of 15 cents. Now comes step 5. I'll put a little star by step 5 as well, because it all depends. This part, if we do step 5, all depends on what is the question asking us. The question asking us to find. The question is not asking us for the tax, right? That's what 15 cents is. That's the sales tax. The notebook isn't suddenly only 15 cents. That's not what it's saying. This is the sales tax. That's the extra money we're going to pay to the government, right, during this purchase. So what I'm going to do instead for step 5 is I'm going to find out, look here in the directions, the total cost. Maybe you, for your note purposes, just put total cost. So we talked about this earlier. We take the sales tax and we're going to add it to the cost of the item, which remember in this whole lesson or this whole problem, it was $2.95. So when of course, adding decimal points, I line up my decimals, line up the place values. So when I add it up, 5 plus 5 is 10, 9 plus 1 is 10, plus another one is 11. Bring down my decimal point, carry the 1, and 2 plus 1 is 3. Of course, don't forget to transfer your dollar sign down. And ladies and gentlemen, the total cost of that notebook with the sales tax is $3.10. All right, questions on that? So bottom line is you use the percent equation to find out your sales tax, and if it's asking for the total cost, add it on to the cost of whatever item you're buying, and that will give you your total cost. Okay? Questions? I'm going to have you try one. You ready? All right, here's a problem I want you guys to do. On your homework, page 155, problem number 1 on that page. Problem number 1. All right, go. All right, how many of you still need more time? Okay, checking with you in just a bit. Guys, those of you that that finish that, you can go on to that top section, complete the top section homework. Just continue if you finished early. Okay, how many of you are still working on it? Okay, about 15, 20 more seconds. Okay, 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go. All right, so same kind of directions on this problem. This time, though, it's talking about a $58 bill. It looks like it's at a restaurant, right? Because you have to leave a 20% tip, or you choose to leave a 20% tip for the waitress or waiter. So here we go. Let's go ahead. I just want to see what is out there for answers. So just an answer, C29.
I got
$69.60. Agree, disagree? What do you guys have? Whoa, a lot of agreements. All right. Anyone else want to share a different answer? Okay. Let's check this out. So here we go. So just going through the exact same steps that we did up here. So part equals percent times a whole. In this case, it's the tip. I'll still use a T here. The tip is going to be, it says 20%. So if I move the decimal over twice, it's 0.20. I'll just put 0.2. The whole is the price of our bill, which is $58. So put in $58 there. So if I go ahead and use my calculator to punch this in, 0.2 times 58 equals, and it's 11.6. Now remember, the next step, right, is to make this thing look like money. So in this case, I don't need to do any rounding, but I do need to put a dollar sign and a 0 for my cent. All right, 6 dimes and 0 pennies, right? So that, of course, is our tip. However, it's asking for the total cost. So we're going to need to do our last step here and add our total cost. And our total cost was $58. So 58, make sure I line up my decimal points. That's very important. I don't need a calculator for this one. 0.696. Bring down the decimal point. Make sure we have our dollar sign, and well done. Majority of you guys got the right answer. Nicely done. Okay, questions on a problem like that? We're okay? Okay, let's go to a problem. It's a little more challenging. Let's go back to 154 and let's take a look at problem number 3. Problem number 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and close read it. Jamie went to have a manicure that cost $30. She wanted to tip the technician 20% and is 5 75/100%. How much did she spend total for the manicure? All right, so we have a lot. We have some things going on here. Now, what I'm going to do is I've just talked about step by step how to solve for tax and tip and things like that. Now we're going to use these skills here to do a bigger, more realistic problem. Okay, so here we go. Step 1. Step 1 is I'm going to turn around. The very first thing they talk about is the tip. I'm going to go ahead and find out what the tip is. By doing all of these steps here, I'm going to find out what the tip is. So here we go. Part equals percent times the whole. Remember, we're finding out the tip, so I'll put T for tip there. And the tip we're leaving, or Jamie's leaving this technician, this manicurist, it says it's 20%. So it's very much like the last problem. 20% as a decimal is 2/10, 0.2. The price of the manicure that 20% is coming off of is $30. So I can grab my calculator. 30 times 0.2 equals, and here's what we have. The tip is 6, or in this case, make it look like money, $6. Now, we're not finding total cost yet, all right, because we actually still need to do step 2. Notice how I'm keeping it very organized. This equation here, now I'm going over here to this space and writing a different equation. Once you start putting a bunch of stuff all over and you don't label it, you're going to lose yourself at where you are in the problem. So keep your work organized. So here we go. Step 2 is, let's go ahead now, it's like a separate little problem. Let's find out what the tax is on this manicure. So, again, part equals percent times a whole. I'm changing part. In this case, I'll put T again, but I need to realize it's the tax. So the tax is going to be equal to, and they say the tax in this problem is 5.75%. Remember, I moved the decimal over twice, and 5.75 twice, right? Look at that. It is 0.0575. Yes, it looks weird, but sometimes if you look at the bottom of some receipts and they show you the sales tax, it's even worse than that. So next time you have a chance, you look at a store receipt. Not all stores, but some store receipts will show you the tax. It looks like something like that. So here we go. the whole of the manicure is still $30, right? We're still paying the tax off of the $30. So here we go. Use the calculator to find out what the tax is. I'm going to go ahead and punch in 0.0575 times 30 equals, and I have 1.725. Now I need to make this look like money, right? And that definitely doesn't look like money. I need to round to the nearest cent. So I put the dollar sign up front, and I have 1.7, and then the 5 makes the 2 go to a 3. So the tax is $1.73. Now for step 3. Total cost. Bless you. And now this time for total cost, we don't have 2 things to add, right? We have 3 things to add. And those 3 things is the cost of the manicure, which is $30. The cost of the sales tax, which is $1.73. Notice how I'm keeping my decimals lined up, all my digits lined up. And thank you those of you that are continuing to write, because this is all part of the lesson. And the $6 for the tip that we're going to give the manicurist, the technician. And we go and add these up. And it looks pretty big, but I don't need a, it'd probably take me longer to use a calculator for this. So the first column is 3, second column is 7, decimal point comes down, 1 plus 6 is 7, 3 and nothing else is 3. And ladies and gentlemen, the total cost for that manicure was $37.73. So basically it's like 3 problems in one. Keeping your work organized is probably the biggest difficulty for a lot of 7th graders. Okay? Make sure you label it and keep it organized. Okay? And it's just 3 of the other simpler problems in one. And that's not, I wouldn't even call that a problem, because that's kind of elementary school kind of problem, right? Especially when you have a calculator. Okay. Any questions on those 3 major steps on how to find out the answer to one of these? Okay, here's one problem I want you guys to try out then. Go to your homework, problem number 5. Problem number 5. All right, problem number 5. Go. Again, guys, don't forget to get your log signed tonight. Tonight's the last night. Okay, how many of you still need more time? Okay. Those of you that finished early, you can continue on your homework. There's not really any other major skills. Do not do problem number 10. I want to talk about that, but all the others, go ahead and do. The rest of you guys finish up number 5. Okay, checking in. How many of you still need more time? Okay, about another 15 seconds, then I'm going to have you guys share. Okay, 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share your answer. Now listen, before I let you share, if your final answer don't match, go back and see if like your, I'll call them sub answers, meaning the little bitty answers, part of the tax or tip or whatever else, see if they match. Okay, and that will be how you find out maybe where the problem is if one of you guys have it wrong. Okay. All right, 30 seconds. Turn to your neighbor and share. Go.
I thought his total plus his tax altogether was $3,460.60.
Guys, make sure we're sharing with our assigned neighbor first. Okay, Shirley. All right, here we go. All right, number 5 says a restaurant bill comes to $28.35. Find the total cost if the tax is 6.25% and there's a 20% tip left on the amount before tax. So here we go. Step 1, I'll just follow these steps. I won't even have to write the steps. I'm just going to follow them. I'm going to find out what the tip is. I might want to label this to remember, but right, part equals percent times the whole. So part is going to be the tip. The percent it says is 20%, so I'll put 0.2, moving the decimal over twice. And the whole is the bill. The bill for the restaurant was $28.35, so 28.35. So the calculator will tell me what the tip is. So 0.2 times 28.35 equals 5.67. And that's nice because all I have to do is put a dollar sign and it's already set up. Okay, $5.67. Okay? The next is tax. The tax, part equals percent times the whole. The part is, I'll put T for tax on this one. The percent of the tax, it says, was 6.25. So if I move the decimal over twice, it's 0.0625. The whole is still the 28.35. Okay, this is one of those reasons why we need a calculator, right? So 0.0625 times 28.35 equals, and here's what we have. Pretty ugly one, 1.771875. It's not that ugly though, because all we have to do is take a look at the hundredths. Second one over, right? It's the nearest cent. 1 makes the 7 stay the same. So our tax ends up being $1.77. Now comes the total. So the total, I'm going to take my $28.35. I'm going to add my tax of $1.77, and then I'm going to add on my tip of $5.67. And this one I am going to use a calculator on this one. 28.35 plus 1.77 plus 5.67, and I get 35.79, 35 and 79 hundredths, which is $35.79. Okay, guys, questions on that? All right, sales tax tips and markup. We've got enough time for whiteboards. So